ever get easier? Should not be that big a deal. Why is it? Okay, thanks. Doesn't feel that way when I'm trying to set it up. Okay, I think we're ready. So, I think we're ready. So it is, if I remember what day it is, Thursday. March 18th. Right? Yes. So start to get comfortable. If you're home and you need to grab a blanket or two to sit on or a chair, by all means do. It is gentle yoga, so we will take it pretty easy, but at the same time, you know, gentle yoga doesn't mean it's not using your body actually pretty strongly. So, you know, just be aware, move at your own pace and modify things how you need. Same thing for everybody here. So get comfortable, and whether you need to sit cross-legged, you feel comfortable sitting cross-legged, or you'd rather stretch your legs out, that's up to you. But see about lengthening up through the top of your head. Let your shoulders release down away from your ears. And start to be now with your breaths. Just letting your eyes gently close. And start to feel the breath coming in and going out through your nose. So feeling your breath coming into your belly, and the belly gently expanding a little bit as you inhale. Next exhale, let your hands come onto your chest, just stacking one hand on top of the other with your palms facing inward. And sitting up tall still, see if you can start to come into those three-part breaths, inhaling into your belly and your ribs, maybe even feeling the breath coming into your hands there on your chest at the end of your inhale. And on the exhale, just imagine the breath coming out of your chest first, then your ribs, and then your belly. Remember, you don't want to force the breath. If it feels like too much, just release, let your breath come in and out where it feels good. Softly now allow your hands to come on out beside you. So if you're on the floor, fingertips can lightly touch the ground there. And we'll inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down through the midline in front of our hearts. And then we'll reverse and inhale the hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down. And now from here, flex the feet. If you're cross-legged, feel the outside edges of your feet pressing gently down into the floor. And then come just a little bit forward, depending on you how far, right? You may just come an inch or two, keeping your back long. You may decide you want to put your hands down and come farther. And just feel the sense of coming forward from your low back, so that you're not coming forward rounding into your upper back, but you're keeping that length. So you'll feel your hips. Don't go so far that it feels uncomfortable at all anywhere. Good. And now from here, shift over towards your left thigh. Put your right hand right there above your knee. And you can put your left hand on the floor if you're on the floor. Give you a little support. And just kind of press a little bit that knee away from you, right? So you'll feel a little more stretch here up into the right side waist. And then we'll ease back through center. We're going to go right onto the other side. So the left hand comes up. And again, you kind of encourage the knee a little bit further away from you. So you get just a little more stretch. Doesn't really matter how low you are. You can get the stretch even being up, you know, higher and higher. You kind of play with it a little bit to where it feels good for you. Good. And then we'll make our way back into center again. And we'll rise on back up right from here. Hands on out beside you again. Let's inhale both arms all the way out and up. And on the exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Just bow your head for a second. Let your chin come down towards your chest. And then roll your left ear towards your left shoulder. Let the hands go just a little bit over to the right, kind of towards the right side of your chest, really. And then come on back through center, chin down to the center and hands centered. And we'll go to the right with our right ear towards our right shoulder, hands to the left. And then release back into center again. And let's unfold our arms on down beside us here now. And we are going to switch the cross of the legs. So if you want to stretch your legs out in between, do what you need to do. So that if you're able to cross with your other leg in front, do. And you know, again, if you need to leave your legs long, do fine. So arms on out beside you again. Let's inhale the right arm all the way out and up overhead. Let yourself lengthen up through the fingertips here. Try to let the right shoulder, though, not creep up by your ear, right? And then go ahead and come into a little bit of a side stretch. So your left hand, again, is giving you some support if you're on the floor. If you're in your chair, you can put your hand in your lap or wherever you want to put it. Now see if you can stay in your side stretch, but turn your gaze to look down. So you're turning your head, looking down. Now depending on how your neck feels and your upper back, you might even want to draw your chin in a little bit towards your body there. And then release and start to bring your gaze down again and start to look forward. So you're looking now back straight forward. Now this is up to you. If it feels good to turn to look up a little bit, you can. And then turn to look back forward again. And we're going to use our bellies to rise us all the way on back up. Lowering the right arm down. And we'll inhale the left arm all the way out and up overhead. Again, as you come over into that side stretch, think about space, really. So much space between the ribs here. Feel the breath expanding the left side of the ribs here. And then we're going to turn our head again down, look down towards the floor there. And now it depends again on you. Maybe drawing your chin in towards you feels really good. To me, it just gives me a stretch right up in the upper back, but that is up to you. And then look back down towards the floor, and we'll turn our head to look forward again. And you may want to stay right there, or you may want to continue and let the head turn to look up a little bit. And then we'll turn back to look forward again. And we're going to use our belly again to draw us all the way on back up. Lowering that arm on down beside us. And let's inhale the arms straight out from the shoulders. Flex your hands here. And then send your hands forward. Let yourself just feel, as you do, try not to collapse in your chest, right? Imagine drawing your upper arm bones back into your shoulder sockets. And then let your fingertips face down so you feel the tops of the arms a little more. And then let one set of fingertips be up and one down, because all we're going to do is pedal your hands a little bit. Every time you inhale or exhale, you're going to switch. So letting yourself just enjoy feeling that movement through the wrist and the hands. Be aware of your fingers. Maybe kind of imagine that your fingers are longer. Can you just picture that your fingers are getting longer and longer? Nice. And then finish off, fingertips facing up of both hands. And now rotate to face the fingertips down of both hands. Come a little bit forward. Now if you're able to, you might even want to put your hands on the floor. You can put just your middle fingers or go on down to get all the fingers on the floor, or even the thumbs. You know, that is totally up to you and your wrist. Don't force anything. Just be Be mindful. Good. And then release, come back up, let your arms come out beside you and make really loose little fists with your hands. And then open those back up, and now put your thumbs in first and bring your fingers on top. Don't squeeze hard, but just come into a little fist that way. And then open back up again, put your fingers in first, and then your thumbs on top again. And then open again, and now thumbs first, and wrap your fingers over your thumbs. And then release. Shake your hands out just a little bit, right? And let's come on around towards our hands and knees. Now, you don't have to be on your hands. You know, you can either use a chair. Another way to get out of your wrists, if your hands are bothering you, your wrists are bothering you, you can be on forearms at any height. You can be on your blocks. You can be down on the floor. You can, when you start to move through cat-cow, and all of you are familiar with moving through your cat-cow, it just feels differently sometimes if you're at a different height, right? So be mindful and feel your tailbone initiating. Remember, you're more than welcome to allow yourself to come onto fist if that feels better for your hands. Just take your time, find that flowing sensation through your spine. So even if, you know, and I know every day is different, even if it's kind of a, I don't mean to say a glitchy day, but you know how sometimes you just feel like, oh my gosh, there are all these places that just feel not so easy. See if you can just imagine you're just flowing through and kind of move through those places without focusing on them. I don't know how to explain it, but you know, kind of trust that your spine knows what to do, in other words. Let yourself be easy. And then we'll finish off and come on back to more neutral spine. Good. And let's come on into a lunge, stepping our left foot forward and our right foot back. Now, if you need height, you know, you can turn the seat of the chair around to face you, and you can be up higher. You can let yourself be on the blocks, the highest height, middle height, or lowest height. And take your time. Remember, you can have your hands on the blocks, again, however it's comfortable for you, so that they can be under fingertips on the blocks, so they're under your shoulders there, your hands are, or you can be on your fists again, or you can come to flat hands. Good. And we are going to switch to the other leg, so however you want to do that. So remember, your feet are like on very narrow railroad tracks, so you don't want to line up like you're walking a tightrope. You want to get that ease in your hips here with the feet apart a little bit the wide way. Good. Front knee bent no farther forward than your ankle. Good. And we're going to switch legs again. Again, however you want to. Remember, you can step forward or back. Be mindful here. Now see if you can focus a little bit on the back of your body and think of bringing the back of your head into line with your spine. So for most of us, that's looking forward a little bit towards the front of our mat. And we are going to switch. So again, bringing that right foot forward, left foot back. Reaching into that inner heel back there. Letting yourself, again, focus on your head being in line. So rather than lifting your chin up and shortening the back of the neck, you have that length in the back of your neck and your throat. Good. We'll step forward from here. Come on into standing forward bend. Feet hips distance apart and parallel. And again, use what you need for support. Elbows can be above the knees. You can have your forearms on support, your chair, your blocks, or you can come all the way down, of course. Just enjoy. Feel the knees a little soft here. Let yourself feel your sitting bones over your heels. And see if you can just float your toes up for a second. And you can even take your hands if you want, kind of massage your toes a little bit, separate them out a little bit if you can. And then releasing
pressing the toes on back down. If you have, we're massaging them, you know, come back to where you can be. Nice full deep breaths. Feeling the ribs now as you inhale, expanding in all directions. Really, it's so great because when you're in this pose, all you need to do is breathe and let the pose do the work for you. The torso coming forward, releasing the backs of your legs. The weight of the head helping you create more space in your spine. And then we'll let our knees bend, bring our hands to our hips. We're going to rise up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Now be aware of your hands. Well, get your feet set first. And then, once your hands come back together in front of your heart, just be aware as you start to float your gaze on forward. Bring yourself into that alignment of your head where you feel, again, length in the back of your neck and throat. So you don't want to jut your chin forward, but you don't want to tuck it back under. You want to feel that length upward through the top of your head. And then feel your hands together there gently. Let your pointer fingers just come apart for a second. And then let them reconnect. And now move to your pinky fingers. Let them come apart a little bit. And then let them meet again. And then come into your middle finger, fingers coming apart a little bit. And then let them come back together. And now your ring fingers. And then gently let them reconnect. Now your thumbs are going to come just a little bit apart. And then right back together again. Feel the fingers here now all connected, and your thumbs, whatever part of your palms touch. So feeling grounded through the feet, feeling that connection there with your hands. Coming into your mountain pose, that quiet strength. Giving the body time to align itself, which it wants to do. Once your pelvis is aligned, tailbone is reaching down towards between your heels. Good. And then we'll unfold our arms right on down beside us. And let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, bend your knees as you come forward into that standing forward bend. And on your next inhale, find a nice long flat back, wherever you want your hands to go to help you do that. To your chair, your blocks, your legs. And we'll step our right foot back to find that lunge again. So coming into that lunge. Now a little bit more, pressing the feet away from each other like you're trying to lengthen your mat. And we'll come into downward facing dog pose from here. So if your hands are on the blocks, remember you can let yourself keep your heels on the floor and reach back through your sitting bones. Don't have a lot of weight on your hands. You can let your elbows hug towards each other. You can have yourself on forearms. You can have yourself with lower blocks or onto the floor, of course, with the hands. That's up to you. And on your next inhale, come on out towards a plank. And again, if your hands bother you or you need to come onto forearms, you can come into a forearm plank here. Nice strength here of the belly, the low back, the hips, sitting bones reaching for the heels. Good. And then we'll come on back into down dog. So again, take your time. Feel the backs of your legs here now. And we'll bring our right foot forward to find lunge. So if you need to put your left knee down to get that foot forward, or however you need to get into your lunge again. And then we'll step back into standing forward bend. Right to your breaths. Now see if you can appreciate the weight of your head. If it helps to nod or shake your head a little bit, do. If you like to release your hands to your elbows because that full weight is fine for you, feel free to do that. If you know you're better off to keep support, really pay attention to how your back feels. And then we'll let our hands come back up to our hips. Bend our knees, press into our feet and rise up. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Now let's keep our hands together and inhale them right up through the midline. Only go as high as your shoulders let you. And then bend your elbows. Now your hands can end up on the top of your head, or you may be able to get your hands to the back of your head, the elbows reaching up higher. That's up to you. Now make sure as you're here, once the arms are up like this, that you're not tucking your tailbone forward and rounding here, right? Send the tailbone back towards between your heels. You can look up a little bit if you want, but that's also a big deal into the shoulders. So be where you can. One more breath. And the next time you exhale, go ahead and release your arms and come on forward into your standing forward bend. And let your next inhale help you find that nice long flat back again. And this time we'll step the left foot back to come into lunge. Press the feet away from each other now. Feel that belly engaging when you do that and feel it all the way up into your hips. Good. We're going to come on into down dog again. So again, you know, where you have your hands for downward facing dog pose, totally up to you. If you like to walk in your dog, you can walk a little bit. Good. Let your next inhale again bring you out towards a plank, or come down to your forearms if you need to, or put your knees down if you need to. You can do a half plank if you want, right? You don't have to come all the way into knees up off the ground, and you also can get out of your hands, come to your forearms. And then we'll come on back into downward facing dog pose again. And we will bring our left foot forward this time to find lunge. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend. So get your feet really set there where you're comfortable, about hips distance apart and parallel, and come on into your forward bend. If you can let your upper body just a little tiny bit move from side to side, do. Just a little bit. It'll bring a little bit of difference in your side waist. You'll feel it a little bit differently up in your hips. And then make your way back into center. Bring your hands on up to your hips. We're going to rise up to standing. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. And let's reverse. Inhale the hands right up through the midline, and on the exhale, open the arms like wings as we come on forward. And let your next inhale, again, find that long, flat back. And this time we're going to walk into down dog. So take your time. You come on back into your dog however you can. Remember, you let your hands be the height you need. And then on the next inhale, we'll come out towards that plank. Now, if you want to add a back bend, you can, or you don't have to. You can come all the way down to the floor if you want and come into a Sphinx pose. You can come to the floor and do a little cobra. Or if you're in that plank and you want to go through to an up dog, you can do that, right? And then we'll make our way back into downward facing dog pose. So take your time, be mindful, wag your tail if you want. And next inhale, we're going to do that same thing again. Come on out to that plank. Again, you can come on down to the floor and come to your forearms if you want to a Sphinx. You can go into a cobra, or you can move through for an up dog. You don't have to do any of these. And then we'll make our way back into downward facing dog pose. And from here, let's bring our left foot forward to come into lunge. And then we'll come back into standing forward bend. Now from here, you might want blocks in front of you, or have your hands on your chair. Let your left foot come a little more to the midline of your body and cross your right ankle in front of it. So your toes are all facing forward, okay? And that right foot is as much on the floor as you can get it. You might be rolled kind of to the pinky toe side of that foot, but just endeavor. And it doesn't take long here, even with your knees bent and your hands up higher for support, to really start to come into that back leg. So just be with your breath. Appreciate how that hamstring feels of that left leg, all the way up into the outer hip. If the knees need to bend more, do it. Let your jaw go. Let your face soften. And then we're going to uncross and we're going to switch. So now the right foot comes a little more kind of towards the midline, so it's easier to cross that left ankle in front and to get the left foot a little more on the floor. And then again, just be easy, be mindful. You know, you don't want to feel a searing, kind of a painful sensation, okay? So come up higher if you need to. Let yourself, make sure you're not overdoing it, and bend the knees more if you need. Good. One more breath. And then as we start to uncross, get your feet right underneath you again, hips distance apart and parallel. And we'll bend the knees, bring our hands to our hips, and rise on up. And we'll inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down together in front of our hearts. So take your time, adjust your mountain pose however you need. If you need to look at your feet, do. Make sure you're not kind of sending one foot turned out more than the other one. It feels real easy. Hands to the heart here. And then just bring your gaze, whether you like to keep your eyes opened or closed, just straight on out so that you have this sense of looking out at the horizon if you were out in an empty open field. And imagine just for a couple or 3 or 4 breaths here that you're inhaling and exhaling through your skin. So like if you could be breathing through your skin, through every pore of your skin, in and out. Actually kind of wakes the whole body up, doesn't it? And unfolding your arms on down beside you. Shake out a little bit, move around if you need to. And we're going to come into some warriors. So I'm going to turn my chair around. If anybody has one, you can use it. Have your blocks handy at the front of your mat. So if you need them, you have them. And come on forward towards the front of your mat. We're going to step our right foot back and come into warrior one. So bringing the shoulders around square. If you have a chair, you can always keep your hands on the chair, which tells you when your shoulders are around square to the front of your mat, right? That right heel rotates back enough where you feel okay in your right knee and in your hip. Feel that openness in the front of the right hip here. And then let your arms, if you need to hold your chair, do, but you can let your arms come beside you if you don't. And then we're going to just move a little bit with our arms here, trying to stay really solid in your, from the waist down in your pose here. So we'll inhale the right arm all the way out beside us and up overhead. And on the exhale, we're going to let it lower back down. So you keep the belly working. We're going to inhale the left arms out beside us and up overhead. And then on the exhale, we're going to lower it down. And then we'll do both together. Inhaling the arms up only as high as your shoulders allow, you know that. And on the exhale, bringing them back down again. And now bend your elbows, bring your hands to meet in front of your chest. And we're going to start to rise the hands up through the midline. Now just go a little bit higher than your head here. And then clasp your hands together, send your pointer finger out. And then bend let your elbows bend more and your hands come down. Maybe they're just going to stay on the top of your head. Maybe you can get them a little bit behind the top of your head at the back. And then imagine your elbows just lifting up a little bit. Engage your belly. And there you are in warrior one. You don't have to go up high with your head. You can still stay looking forward. Maybe just imagine a little uplift. Now unfolding your arms is totally up to you. You may decide you want to keep the elbows bent, let the hands come up a little bit. Or you may want to come into straighter arms. Arms can be forward. If that feels good, you can let your arms come forward. You can have your upper arms by your ears if that feels okay for your shoulders. Into your warrior one here, bringing your gaze where you're comfortable. Feeling that inhale rising up the front of the body and your exhale flowing down the back of your body. Good. One more breath. And then look back forward. Let your arms release softly on down beside you now again. And we're going to turn to face the long edge of our mat. Walk our feet out to where they're a little bit wider than our shoulders, or even wider than that. And you know, if you like your blocks for your wide-legged forward bend, grab your blocks. And then come on forward, either hands to the blocks or any height you want, or the floor. And then if you can bend one knee at a time, as long as it doesn't bother your knees, do. So letting yourself just release a little bit side to side. Good. And then once you come back into center with your hips, take your time. Knees can be bent or straight. You decide if you need to keep your elbows above your knees to support you, or you need to stack your blocks up and come onto your forearms maybe to get out of your hands. Or go ahead and fold. Let your head hang. Crown of the head towards the ground. Put your head on blocks if you'd rather. Get in a place where you can very easily accept your breaths in and out. And just imagine the upper body just fully released. Your face is soft, your shoulders. Feeling the breath expand the ribs in all directions. Good. And now take your time as you start to rise on back up. If you need to bring your feet together before you come up, do it. You can come on up to standing. If you're dizzy, if you need to stay with your legs wide for a second, do. Once you bring your feet together, you might want to work through your feet and your ankles a little bit. So you can always put your hand to a wall, let yourself release a little bit before we do the other side. So this time we'll step the left foot back. So you come towards the front of your mat. Remember, if you have your chair there at home, you can keep one hand on the chair. So if you feel like you're going to lose your balance, it's better to have something there where you can use it if you need it. Feel that back foot fully on the floor. Remember that back foot's turned out maybe 20 or 30 degrees. And then your shoulders are around square. Let your arms release down. And we're going to inhale the left arm all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, we'll lower it down. Now, keep the belly working. Feel that openness in the left front hip. And now the right arm is going to inhale out and up, only as far as your shoulder allows. And on the exhale, we'll lower it back down. And we'll do both arms together. Inhaling the arms out and up as high as you want to go. And on the exhale, lowering them back down again. And now bend your elbows. Bring your hands to meet in front of your chest. And as we inhale, the hands up a little bit higher than the head. Now this is all optional for you. You can clasp your hands, send your your pointer finger out, and you can lay the hands there on top of the head if you can. You can keep them forward if you need. You can go farther behind your head if you want. Maybe your elbows can lift up a little bit so you feel how the belly works. You still feel length in the low back. Now, optional, coming into those longer arms, coming into elbows hugging in. Elbows can come forward, arms can come forward. Or you can keep the arms up more by your ears. See if you can again imagine inhaling up the front of your body and exhaling down the back. Good, and then we're gonna release the arms again on down beside us, letting them come on down. We're gonna turn to face the side of our mat again. Now, before you come forward, get your feet set, and then bring your hands behind you. Clasp them. Let yourself feel your feet even in the floor. And then bend your knees a little bit and come on forward. Now, you might want to stop before you even get parallel to the floor, or you might want to go all the way parallel to the floor. That's up to you. You can have your knees straighter or keep them bent. See if you can lengthen out your spine there. And now if you're okay to fold over your legs, do it. If you need to put your hands down and have your hands in front of you, do. Some of you might want to bring your arms off your back a little bit. So if that's comfortable to do, you can bring yourself into coming into the arms off the back a little bit, or even more, depending on what your shoulders allow. So be easy with it. Don't force anything. Just let your shoulders be where they can. And then we'll slowly let the hands come on back down, release them on down towards the floor of the blocks, and let's walk over towards the right. Now you can shift your blocks a little bit to the right, or you can walk all the way over with your hands to hold on to the outside of your ankle if you want. Let yourself stay on that side. Feel the left foot gently pressing away from the midline a little bit. So you feel a little more in that inner left thigh. And then we're going to walk back through the center and over to the other side. So again, you can just shift your blocks. You don't have to go all the way to your foot. Or you can release yourself over to hold on to the outside of your foot, your ankle there. Wherever you are now, be aware of that right foot pressing gently away from the midline. And then we'll slowly walk on back into center. If you need to wiggle around a little bit, do it. If you need to adjust your stance, bend your knees, take your time to set up how you want to, use blocks however you choose, or not, right? You can hold your ankles if you want in this pose. You can bring your hands between your feet, shoulder distance apart, if you're comfortable in that classic pose. Or some of you might want to turn your hands around and walk your fingertips way back behind you. So if that feels good, you can let yourself do that. But again, a place where you are able to release in your upper body. So if your back bothers you, elbows above your knees can be fine. Now accept those breaths fully and deeply. Follow your inhales all the way in. And then follow your exhales all the way out. And see if you can let your inhales and exhales even out, even letting your exhales get a little bit longer than your inhales. Good. Now, before we come out of this, just think about what works for you. If you need to bring your feet closer together before you rise up, do. And be mindful, if you get dizzy coming forward like that, it's not at all unusual. So just take your time, come on out, move through your feet and your ankles. And we're going to come into Warrior 2 this next time. So left foot is forward, right foot is back, and you can hold the chair again if you need for balance, right? So you've got your heels lined up, and you've got your left foot about parallel to the long edge of your mat. Your right foot is about parallel to the back edge. You can send your heel back farther if your ankle and your knee are okay with that. And now kind of look down for a second at your feet and think about, and then you might even have to imagine lifting your toes up, especially that back foot. It's kind of hard. Think about your arches lifting up, but you don't want to roll to the outside edge of that back foot, all right? And then bring your toes on back down. Let's float our arms on up and out, straight out from the shoulders, and look out over the top of that left hand. Feel the fingertips reaching away. Now, kind of lift your shoulders, not hugely, but kind of almost like you're shrugging a little bit, and then draw the shoulders down. Extend out through the fingertips. And we'll turn the left palm up. We're going to inhale, right hand on the leg back there. Gives you support as you come into reverse warrior. Breathing into the left side. And on the exhale, we'll come into side angle, where either your left hand or forearm can be on your thigh, on your chair, however low you want to go. And then you decide about adding this right arm up into line. Totally unnecessary to put that arm up in line. You can have hand on the hip. You can have the arm straight up. Everybody's shoulders are different, so be where you can. And then we'll come into warrior two again, pressing those feet away from each other. Coming on back up, reaching out through the fingertips again, softening down through the tops of the shoulders. And we'll bring our hands down. We're going to find lunge here. So whether you like to use blocks or the chair or the floor, come on around, find your full lunge so that you reach back through that inner right heel. And we'll add a twist here. Left hand to the left hip and rolling that left shoulder up. Hand can stay down right there on your low back. Just make sure you're not dropping into that right long side. Try to stay fairly level in your hips. You can add the arm up if you want or not. One more breath. And then we'll turn to look down at the floor, bring our left hand down, and we're going to step forward and get our feet right underneath us. Ease your way into your breaths. Feel the weight of your head. And then we'll bring our hands on up to our hips. Bend our knees and rise on up. We'll inhale our arms out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down in front of our chests. Enjoy your mountain pose for a couple of breaths. Feel like your mountain pose really is re-energizing you, right? Just feeling that sense of balance, feeling equal between the front and the back of your body. And then we'll go ahead and let our arms come on down, shake out a little bit. And we're going to go to the other side. So again, left foot back for warrior two. Again, kind of look down at your feet. Try to draw that line forward from your left heel. Imagine your right heel being in line. And then line up that front knee right out over the center of your foot. Now, if you can lift all your toes up, do. It's a lot easier on the front foot than it is on the back. Think of your arches lifting up. And then lower the toes on back down. And we'll inhale the arms all the way out again, straight on out from the shoulders. And maybe a tiny bit higher. So like if you shrug your shoulders a little bit and then you let them melt down, it just feels so good. So you're feeling like your arms are being held up from underneath, not the tops of your shoulders. And let's put our left hand down on our left leg, turn our right palm up, and inhale, reach up towards the sky. Nice full breath into the right ribs. And on the exhale, we'll come into that side angle. So again, it can be your hand, it can be your forearm that comes to your thigh, whether you keep your left hand down or swing that arm on up into line with the left side of the body, or maybe your arm is better off straight up from your shoulder, right? So it is, everybody's shoulders are different. Find what you can so you have a comfort in your shoulder as much as possible. Good. One more breath. And then we're going to come on back into warrior two. Press the feet gently away from each other as you come. And now we're coming back down to lunge, remember. So when you bring your hands down and you turn that left foot to where the heel is reaching directly behind, you get set up to bring your right hand up to your right hip. Roll that shoulder up. You can keep your palm right down there on your sacrum if you want to. Try not to drop down, right? Try to feel as level as you can. And you can add that top arm up if you choose to. So lengthen out through the top of your head. Reach back through your inner heel. And then release the right hand on back down. And we'll step forward again. Get your feet right underneath you. Walk a little bit and you're standing forward bend if you want to, lifting a heel at a time when you bend your knee and work, moving through the feet a little bit. And then come on back into both heels down. Let yourself feel that ease of being hips distance apart and parallel with your feet. One more nice full deep breath. And then we'll bring our hands up to our hips and bend our knees to rise up. Inhaling the arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. So find your mountain pose however you need. Let yourself adjust however you need to adjust. And then getting that sense of your gaze coming forward and out. And again, imagine really that this balance of your mountain pose just refreshes you. Come back to your breath in and out through your nose. And then we'll go ahead and unfold our arms on down and shake out, move around a little bit. And we are going to bring our mats all the way into a wall. So, take your time. We got plenty of room here today. Once you get into the wall, we're going to take a hold of a block. And if you have to step off your mat, it's okay. We're going to do half moon again today. All right? So if you have to step off your mat to find more of a wall for yourself, do it. Like if you two are crowded over on there. But you don't have to move your mat or anything. So too bad everybody doesn't have a pole. It's really easy if you use a pole. But if you can put your hand down onto your right hand to your block there, standing on your right foot, and you can do fist with that hand. You don't have to put a lot of weight in it, right? The left leg comes on up, the foot flexes, the toes face down just a little bit. And you can decide in your half moon whether it feels good here to start to look out from the wall, or maybe even stretch that top arm straight up so that the palm faces outward. Now, don't overdo. This is a big opening in the hip, obviously, but it's also a big stretch in the hamstring and the supporting leg. If you need to bend a little bit, do. If you can come straighter, do. Let the wall help you. It is really like you've just gone splat back onto the wall, really. There's a huge open feeling in this pose. Your spine is fully extended. Good. Nice. And if you're like Joe and you like to lift your bottom hand off the block when the wall's there, you're more than welcome to do that, right? You don't have to have a lot of weight in your hand, but it is kind of intense, just saying. When we get ready to come up, be mindful because you'll feel it in your hip and in your side waist a bit. We're going to come the other side. So again, the left hand, it's under your shoulder, which everybody's well aligned here. Yeah, I can't see you at home though, so get your left foot parallel to the wall, right? And then as you get your left hand there under your shoulder and you start to open up to the wall, you can decide. You don't have to lift that arm up. You get just as much out of the pose if you keep your hand down, right? There's no really right or wrong way. Again, you can think of lifting the bottom hand up if you want. You can put your hand on your heart. You can let yourself stay with the hand on the block. Well, some of you might even want to turn to look up a little bit. I don't know if that feels good for anybody's neck. Usually the most relaxing thing for the neck is looking down at your block or your hand down there. Usually. Beautiful. When you're ready to come back up, your leads back up, come and turn your back to the wall. Let your heels be maybe, 6 to 12 inches from the wall, maybe, right? And from here, bend your knees a little bit. And try not to tuck your tailbone forward. You're not trying to do a pelvic tilt here. Let your tailbone reach down so you have that curve in your low back, right? Everybody has some bit of curve. And then from here, think of sending your hips a little forward, just a little off the wall with your bottom, right? And then straighten your legs up. Keep your gaze forward. Keep your chin parallel to the floor. Now, if anybody already feels discomfort in your low back, shift back with your hips and get closer to the wall before you
do this bending and forward. Now, if you can get your hands behind you, you can clasp your hands there if you're not too close to the wall, right? Keep the belly lifting, so there's this huge lift here in the front of the hips too. And you can let yourself release with the hands back there. Some of you may actually want to rise the arms forward and bring the hands all the way to the wall with the palms facing each other. Now that is totally optional. And if you want more, you can bring your head off the wall and let yourself come to wherever you want to look, right? So those are all steps along the way that you don't really want to do if you feel any discomfort, right? You can keep the hands back, you can let the arms hang, just play with it a little bit. Even putting your hands on your hips and using your thumbs to encourage that lengthening of the top buttock muscle down. It's a back bend. And then shift your hips back to the wall again. Walk your feet out a little farther and see if you can come forward and put your elbows above your knees. And if not, don't do that. If that's too much for your back and you're like, no way, that does not feel good, don't do it. But just enjoy if you can. Being there, releasing the back. Good. And then we're going to slowly come back up, walk our feet on back so that we can stand up, so that we can come down to the floor. And we're going to come to our bellies, all right? So let yourself come all the way down to your belly. And rest a second with your hands made into a little pillow. So let your hands come one on top of the other. Rest your forehead on them. Bend your knees and let your feet circle both ways so you reverse when you're ready. Maybe you'll get some nice pops and snaps like I did. And then come on back. Let the lower legs come one side to the other if you're okay with that motion of windshield wiper blades. Good. And then come on back. Let your legs be long. Bring your arms down alongside your body. Turn your palms down towards the ground. And then just lift your head up when you inhale, just a little bit. And then let it come back down to the floor. And now lift your legs up a little bit when you inhale. And then let them come back down. And now do the head and the legs at the same time. And then let yourself release back down. And then we'll come with the hands and the legs and the chest and the head up into locust pose. And then we're going to release back down. And we are going to roll onto our right side from here. Now when you roll onto your side, if you can stretch your right arm long, do it. If you are very uncomfortable doing that, don't do it, right? Put your arm forward a little bit, put a block or a blanket under your head so that you're okay to be like this here. Good. And now if you can, bend your left knee. Put your left foot on the floor in front of your right leg. Maybe below your knee, maybe above your knee, right? So the left knee might not reach up to the ceiling. It depends on how your hips are built. But you're endeavoring to think about that, about the knee reaching up towards the ceiling, the pelvis coming just a little bit forward. So you're opening that hip a little more. And now you can keep your hand on the floor, or you can put your hand up on your left hip. We're going to try to pick the foot up and put it up like you're doing tree pose. It can go below your knee so that you're onto your calf, or you can bring the foot up higher, up into your inner thigh if you want. If you have on slippery clothes, it's harder, so just be where you can. You can try keeping your hand on the floor, stay there, or you can put your hand on your hip. So there's a nice little openness. Press into the outside edge of your right foot on the floor. If you do that, you're flexing the foot. That helps engage you. And now, pick the foot up, draw the left knee in towards your shoulder with your left hand. And that might be enough. You might go, okay, that's it, no more of that. You can put the foot back down if you want, or you can extend the leg up long if you want, holding on to the inside or the outside of that left leg,
Or maybe you want to reach up for your foot. Totally up to you. The heel rotates forward. There's outward hip rotation. You feel how your hips are working, your back, your belly. It's a big core pose called Anantasana. And then we're going to bend the knee again, bring the foot back down, and then lengthen it back long again. And from here we'll roll onto our belly, but when you do, come up to your forearms. Let yourself find a little Sphinx pose there. See if it brings a little relief. And you'll probably feel pretty lopsided because that is a deep pose in the hip, yeah? So see if you can, let yourself kind of establish a little more balance there between sides. And of course, we want to do the other side. So we're going to stretch that left arm out and roll to our left side. And again, you know, you've got to do what your shoulders let you do. So put the arm down if you need to. Put support under your head. Don't do anything that makes it feel uncomfortable. And as you stretch the legs long now, bend the right knee, put the right foot on the floor in front of that left leg. See if you can kind of aim the right toes downward towards your left foot. And now, again, don't force anything here. The foot can be any height, below or above your knee. But think about the knee reaching upward and your hips coming, your pelvis coming a little forward. It's actually a big release, too, after doing the half moons. So, one more breath here. And now coming into that side lying tree, right foot is just going to drift up to where you want it to go. Pretending you're in tree, either foot below or above the knee. And you know, since you're not really pushing into your knee, it's okay if your toes or your heel are kind of on the knee a little bit. It's fine. Just let yourself enjoy. Good. Now feel the outside edge of that left foot into the floor. That helps stabilize you. As you anticipate now bringing the right knee in towards your shoulder, using your hand to draw it there. You can flex through both the feet now. Now this extending into the long leg, totally optional. You can send the foot up. You can decide if you want to hold on to the leg anywhere. Good. Outward hip rotation, heel rotating forward. So feel how your belly, your low back, your hips really working here. Nice. So one more breath. Now when you lower down, just be mindful, however you need to bring that leg on down. And then we'll turn back to our bellies again. Come into that Sphinx pose. Let yourself release there for a breath or two. You know, if you need to be lower, you can have your elbows down more towards your waist, or have the arms overhead, or you can have your elbows there under your shoulders, letting yourself come into your Sphinx pose there. Good. And then we're going to release back down so we can shift back towards pose of a child. So let yourself come on back towards your child's pose. Releasing and breathing. Now, some of you may want to stay right here in child's pose. If any of you want to do just a little dolphin pose, you can come onto your forearms, clasp your hands, send your pinky fingers out, and you can lift up and come up and do a little dolphin. And that is totally up to you. If you do want to do a little bit, but you don't want to come into a dolphin pose, you can do a little forearm plank if you'd rather. You can also stay in child's pose, breathing into your low back. Good. One more breath. And then bringing your hands back by your hips. We're going to come on up. By your knees, sorry. Come on up, and we're going to come up to sitting, up and around to sitting. So if you know sitting on the floor is really one of your least favorite things, take a blanket or two to put underneath you if you need.
Stretch your legs on out long, shake out just a little bit. And then let's just bring our right leg a little more to the midline. Bring our left foot across to the outside. So remember, if you do the opposite leg, it's okay. I don't mirror because this thing turns everything around. The camera does. So sit up nice and tall. Let yourself, feel your shoulders really drawing down. Feel your sitting bones equally into the ground there. One more inhale. And then on the exhale, bring that left arm on around behind you, coming on into your twist. Hand can stay on your knee. You can go deeper, and you know that. You can hold on with the crook of your elbow. You can bring your arm across to the outside of the leg. Just enjoy. Chin about parallel to the floor. Now, how far you decide to bring your gaze back is up to you. But if you get to a point in the twist where you feel like you can't have a nice inhale, then you might want to back out of it a little bit and come to a place where you can breathe. It's really good to keep breathing. One more breath. And then let yourself come back to center. Take a breath here at center. And on the exhale, we're going to twist the other way. So bringing your right hand behind you. If you can bring your left hand around to like the inside of your foot or just to the inside of that leg, somehow do. Let yourself lengthen up here. Feel both your sitting bones in the ground. Good. And one more inhale. And then on your exhale, use your belly to bring you on back around. And we are going to switch. So stretch that leg out. If you need to shake out a little bit, move through, do. And then the left leg comes a little more to the midline. The right foot comes again to the outside below or above the knee. Where you get that foot is up to you. But let yourself then hold on so that you can really feel as you lengthen up. Feel the shoulders soften down. So all that space in the spine makes a twist much easier. One more inhale. And on the exhale, bringing the right arm behind you. Again, left hand can stay on your knee. You can wrap your arm around. You can bring your arm across to the outside. How far back you look, really pay attention to how your neck feels. And imagine, when you back up a car, you need to look back behind yourself, right? So just be easy. Let it feel really like you can turn your head maybe a little bit more to look behind you. But obviously, you're turning from the middle of the back. Good. One more breath. And now as you exhale, come back, stay at center for a breath so you can lengthen up as you inhale. And on the exhale, left arm comes around now this time behind you. And if you can bring that right arm to the inside of the leg, do. And again, lengthen upward. Good. Nice. All the space in the spine. Sit bones drawing down. Again, if you decide you want to turn a little more to look back behind you, do. And then when you're ready to come back to center, use your belly to bring you on back around, right? And then stretch your legs on out in front of you. Shake out a little bit. And we're going to lie down on our backs on the floor. So ease your way on down. However you want to go. If you want to roll down, roll down. If it feels good to you to roll through your spine a little bit to come down to the floor, by all means do. Once you get down there, bring your knees on into your chest very easily. Let the feet separate a little bit. Soles of the feet come towards each other. You can put your hands on your shins or your ankles here. You can wrap your hands around your feet if you have that capability. That depends on how you're built in your hips. Let it feel good. Don't, some people even
might want to put their feet on the floor and then open their knees with the soles of their feet together. If that Baddha Konasana feels better to you than having your knees into your chest and then opening with the feet off the floor, you can play with it a little bit and see. See what feels the most releasing for you. Good. And one more breath here. And then we're going to slowly bring our knees back in towards center and bring our feet on down to the floor. Now, you may prefer, instead of doing a bridge pose without support, you may prefer to get your block, get your feet set up so that you can lift up and support on a block any height you want to be, obviously, so that you're fully supported. And if you'd rather, bring your arms down, whether you bend your elbows or keep your arms long on the floor, and lift up into bridge pose, you know you can. So, depending on how you feel towards the end of class here, just be mindful. If you're coming into bridge pose and it feels too much, come down and reposition maybe your feet a little bit. Remember, bridge pose, you do not want to feel bridge pose in your back. You'll feel your thighs. You'll feel an openness in the front of the body and the back of the body. But if it feels better to stay on a block and be supported, feel free to do that. And you can play however you want. You know, if you're like, I need to do something else right now, then do the something else. So if you need to do another pose or another movement of any kind, you do know too, all of you here, that when you come down out of bridge, if you're still up there, you need to stay due, but if you come down, you want to make sure you bring your knees in towards your chest. And just follow what your body needs. After a bridge, if you need a twist, let yourself come into a twist. I got it. Awesome. If you need to come into knees to the chest, another kind of hip opener of any kind or anything else, let yourself do that. And some of you, I can tell, are really just ready for Shavasana, which is totally understandable. But I would be happy to bring stuff. I already see some hands moving up. So, if a bolster underneath you sounds like a good idea. You want a bolster?
Yes. Okay.
No? Is that comfortable? Yeah. You can always come in. So let me know if you need a bolster. I have little ones too, if anybody needs a little bolster. If you need to wiggle around a little bit to get yourself more comfortable, do. Time, just appreciate feeling the firmness of the ground supporting you. The parts of the body that are in contact with the floor. Obviously not all parts of your body are in contact with the ground. As you come into your breath, easily accepting the breaths in and out. And just let your breath change if it needs to become a little deeper, a little 1 or 2 breaths where you come back to the breath when you're off into thinking, but you come back and you need to breathe in deeper, do.
But your breath will naturally become a little quieter. And as you keep refocusing, so will your brain. But just give yourself these few minutes, allowing yourself to find those quieter spaces and letting yourself completely and fully relax. rise your belly, feeling that sense of the breath really starting to refresh you. Letting your fingers, your toes, your hands and feet start to move the way you need. But, take your time so that when you come back to moving, it feels like you're moving naturally, the way you feel comfortable to come up into your arms, your legs, stretching or bending. And you're welcome to stay on your back. You're welcome to roll onto either your right or your left side. Coming into a soft fetal position on your side can sometimes be a nice way to give your brain and your body a little bit of time to adjust. And just be easy when you do feel like you're okay to rise to sitting. Get comfortable once you get up in the way you're sitting at first, and then kind of just grow your way up from feeling your sitting bones down into the ground, lengthening up then again so that you feel like you're supported really by the central column of your spine. See if you can find that ease of reaching up through the top of your head and your chin about parallel to the floor. So you have space in your back of your throat there. And on your next exhale, bring your hands gently together in front of your chest. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste.
Namaste.
Happy Thursday, everybody. And thank you all who are here for making it through the construction mess.